I shared with Ken earlier today that the greatest tragedy that I could feel after teaching you guys these letters, the greatest tragedy would be that any of you would walk away and not choose to start looking at the scriptures yourself. In other words, if I haven't done enough to encourage you to begin excavating a verse or a word by yourself on your own, I am doing an incredible disservice, because the application is when the change really takes place. Like Ken and I we can share our excavations with you, and you know they're powerful because you guys are hearing it. But the power is in the translation of the work yourself. Some of us that are word oriented, such as me, I spent many years in the English Bible, and none of that has gone to waste, because Spirit will give me a verse and it'll pop in my mind and it'll be like, oh, I just got goosebumps when I said that. Give me a verse and I'll dive in and I'll go look for it. And then I'll actually be able to take a look at it in the Hebrew and the Aramaic and really excavate it and see what that underlayer was that was masked over with something that was much lesser. So the greatest disservice or the greatest sadness that I would have is that any of you would choose to leave and just say, hey, I have the letters now. And there's a great journey. Don't get me wrong. If you learn the letters and you know the journey in the letters, that's great. That'll get you to destination. But there is so much more available for you. And it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard to start looking at those words and diving into them. And you'll probably have a season where you're frustrated with it and you'll want to set it aside. But that's the purpose of why I want to do the tutoring on those Saturday mornings, so that I'm engaging with you to help you along, so that you're not going to have to be in the place where, like Ken and I were, painstakingly trying to do this and having no assistance. We want to help, so it's a smoother process. So please hear my heart on that. I'm hoping that is your desire, because the more of us that are tackling these verses, the more the egregores can come down sooner. Because as we're collectively bringing this information together and we're sharing it with one another,
we've quantified it.
Yeah. And how powerful is that? It's just not a couple of us doing it. It's like a whole team is coming together and we're chasing down and digging out all of these verses, and we're changing the collective consciousness by that which we are sharing. So I just wanted to bring that forward, that I'm hoping I'm planting the seeds that you will actually do something with this. And this isn't just a moment of you coming on to have your ears tickled to go, oh, I kind of want to know what this is, but that I want to set that seed of, yes, I want to get as excited as Ken and Carrie have been about digging these things out. And I can't wait to bring the treasures to my family and share them. Wow, what a buffet table, a buffet table that we can have when we bring our own manna to share. Is it all different flavors and seasons and spices?
Yeah, well, I think for anything established, it's really good to have a vision. And so I think it's important when you just set, because the vision teleologically is a very, very lofty mountain position. And so here we are in the valley looking up at it, and we have to ask the question before we go there, am I capable? Is there a desire? Because it's heart-wrenching to go to halfway point and then have to turn around and say, I don't want to get here. And I've had a vision of that.
I know.
And it's heart-wrenching, because there's gateways along the way that supernaturally propel us. We realize we're getting exhausted, and all of a sudden you just enter an atmosphere and it just takes you to the next part of the journey. And we've seen it, we felt it, and it encourages us to know that no one needs to be left behind.
No.
We'll always have a handout and be able to pour into someone, so we can all reach what is to be called summit, or to be called lofty, assembly, and that level of destination. It's right. The place of treasure.
So moving on, I want to clear something up for those of you that this might be new in hearing it. For some of you who've heard it spoken many times when we talk about mother teaching the divine masculine and father teaching the divine feminine. This is based upon if you were teaching a child in the way they should go. So again, I'm wanting to reiterate this, because we're in the reparenting phase for all of us. That's what we're doing, especially with the shadow work. But if everything was the way it should be, and we were raising up children to be able to embrace this incredible language of self-excavation, the mother is teaching the divine masculine, because that is the building form. Again, that's where we can play well with others. That's that external orientation. And I've said it before, mother is a little bit more fierce in the way she's bringing forth order and discipline, so that as we come together, we're not doing things that's causing harm to another. And that's why that divine masculine, why us women tend to carry a lot of the masculine energy, because it's already within us to establish those disciplinary. And please hear that in the most gentle and innocent form of that word that I'm using. You know, a belt was used on me. Belts and wooden spoons were used on me as a kid in knuckle sandwiches. So, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child kind of principle in my house. So I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying in creating ordered discipline for a child so that they can function with others. That's what I'm talking about.
Sustainability.
Exactly. So that comes with that masculine energy, that we're building that form so that we can work cohesively together in the external world. By the time, and that usually would run until the age of 12. So the child would become a son or daughter of the commandments, meaning I can function in society, and now I am of the age of accountability. Interesting that in the Hebrew culture, that is the age of 12 for girls, and for boys, it's 13. Kind of interesting that there's a difference there, but you know, there's other reasons why you can go into that with the way the brain is developed with the masculine and feminine bodies and whatnot, but that's something for another day that I choose not to go into. But anyway, that then takes us into moving into fathers teaching the divine feminine, where then they begin to do the inward excavation of their emotions, of their feelings, of anything that could have happened in the younger years, to deal with any shadows. Because think about the teenage years. The teenage years are absolutely tumultuous. And this is when they would be turned over for the father's instruction, so that the father would be teaching them the divine feminine principle of the inward reality of all the emotions, because it's such a turbulent time. And so I'm wanting to bring that forward so that you can see that when I say mother's teaching or father's teaching, I'm literally talking about like a mother figure that would be teaching their child, and a father figure that would be teaching a child. Now, in our day and age, there are single parent families, and there has to be, you know, one parent is doing both. But there's the recognition of the time and the place when the child has now been in a place where they have learned to play well with others. Good job, mom and dads that have brought that forward for a child. And then in the tumultuous years, it's when we deal with the heart issue with the emotions. And that sets us up for intimacy, because the goal in the natural setting is being able to raise up a child so they can enter into a marriage with another partner and have it be successful. Imagine if our parents would have, and maybe some of you were blessed to have this. I certainly was not. But imagine if we were blessed to have parents that would have really identified with our emotional needs while we were a teenager, and actually sat down and began helping with shadow work when we were a teenager. Can you imagine how different things would be for us? So I wanted to clear that up, because that is all connected also within the Aleph, as the role of the higher self and the lower self as we reparent ourselves. So I'm hoping that brought a little bit more clarity on that, because I know that I had kind of some questions, maybe some confusion when we share that. And I don't mind inculcation to talk about this, because these are big, important deals for what we're doing, because the language is literally reparenting ourselves. Because I don't think any of us none of us right now are glowing yet. I mean, our auras might have gone out further, but you know, I don't think that we have not quite popped over yet to be fully illuminating. So that means that all of us are still, to a degree, turning some shadows. We're still turning some shadows. All right. Shelley, you have 2 teens. Well, there you go, dear. This will give you a great amount of tools for you to help your teenagers, and setting them up so that in the course of the rest of their life, they won't have, hopefully, as many obstacles and hurdles that some of us have had to clear through, because the parents didn't know that this was a huge component to creating a space of intimacy. So, because it all translates, right? It all translates spiritually. It's all spiritual. These are big formatting moments in our life to be able to regain that which has been lost because these important things were never taught to us.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right.
Which means reparent yourself, by the way.
It
Amen.
does. It does.
That's why I said it, but
It
so,
does.
amen, reparent yourself.
All right. Then I had a question about the white fire and black fire. And the question was, when deep breathing and connecting to the spirit, the white fire, do we go up the chakras or down? And in looking at the way the language is showing it, in bringing the white fire in, it comes in from above. Like we take it in from above, and generally it would be coming in through the third eye that this is really coming through as we're meditating, and it's coming down and it's working its way all the way down our chakras and then makes the return trip back. Again, Hallel, the light is coming in, those revelations are coming in through the top, through the chakra, the third eye, and is coming down into the system where it goes all the way down as far as we will allow it to. Because please understand, if you have a choked off chakra, wherever that choked off chakra is, the energy is not going to go past that chakra. And that is what's considered a demon. A choked off chakra is a demon, which means in that area itself, there has been some sort of trauma that needs to be released, that needs to be worked through so that energy can go all the way through. So in people that have shut off their heart, it's very difficult to get and heal those lower wounds, because usually all of our trauma is in those lower three chakras below the heart chakra. And so if you have somebody who has capped off their heart and has not opened it at all, the light will just hit that heart chakra and it won't go anywhere, and it won't ever allow that healing to happen. So the heart has to start being open to a degree, and that's in that trust. That's the huge thing, is are we willing to trust that higher energy of the higher self of Hallel to be able to come in? Because as it's coming in, it's stirring things all the way up. And the first thing is trying to bust down that outer wall of the heart so that light can go all the way down where it needs to the base chakra, which is like a survival place where most of us are traumatized, is in that root chakra. So hopefully that makes sense. And then as it makes its return trip, it's literally Hallel going all the way down into the Lila, where Hallel grabs the hold of the hand of Lila and they walk hand in hand and then settle it in the heart in that moment of union and intimacy.
Literally the pit of hell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to really do it a service, really, if you want to put it in biblical perspective, that's exactly it. There's nothing outside of yourself. Everything is in the realization. It's all contained within you.
And anybody that's dealt with deep traumas or has complex post-traumatic stress disorder or anything of that nature, you know what it's like living in that kind of a hell. So, and hell again, Sheol means the place of inquiry, when you don't have answers. And for some of us that went through CPTSD, when we would have a moment, we had no answers as to why everything was shutting down. We just knew that things were shutting down because we got triggered and we didn't know where it came from. And so that is living in hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully that helped answer some questions about that. All right. Talk about resonance. What are you wanting me to share about, David, regarding resonance?
Nothing. That actually just, that had resonance to it. Like,
Got it.
that's great. So yeah, beautifully stated.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, again, that's the whole point of the letters, you guys. Again, the white fire is coming through the black fire. The black fire we take in by what we are seeing in our mind, and then it translates into white fire and works its way down. So every single time you take a word and you break it apart and you're like, oh my gosh, guess what? You just got white fire. Then you sit with it and you meditate on it and you let it travel from the head into the heart and let it work on the heart for a while. And until that heart opens up the lower gate, the upper gate and the lower gate of the heart, to allow it to penetrate down into those lower chakras. And every single place of resistance, because remember, every revelation is going to reveal a corresponding shadow. And that shadow is going to be a place of resistance. And so every single time a light is going to come in, it's going to deal with that shadow. And every time you get another revelation, this is what happened to me that I don't want to have happen to you. Please do not resist your shadow work, because every time you keep compressing light, and you're not dealing with the shadow that is like the first one there that's causing all the ruckus and all the chaos, and you're refusing to look at it and deal with it, your life and world will fall apart. Because you can only put so much light in before it blows up the whole vessel and stirs up the pot, and all of that energy needs to be dealt with and transferred. So
Yeah, this
be
is a,
gentle,
yeah,
be gentle, and don't resist it. Let it do its work on you.
this is a modality.
It is.
The
It's a
when you
healing
say it
modality.
correctly, it's a modality. And so again, cautionary, before you step into it, we should be recognized on the dose of medicine you're taking.
Right.
Because you should see catalysts and activators throughout your day, your week, your month that are directly connected to where you are in your dose of medicine.
Exactly. Thank you, Ken.